Good day to you, and welcome to the Table Scraps podcast.
Wow, didn't see that coming.
I gotta mix it. I mean, how many different ways can I do this? We'll find out.
On today's pod, we have Tom Leigh of Tommy Gun Images joining us.
You probably know Tom from the powerboating industry and all of the work that he does with Speedboat magazine, as well as a lot of the stuff he does on his own. But today we talked to him a little bit about other types of photography that he does, and also how he got into it in the first place.
We really enjoyed this conversation with Tom. Hope you do too.
We can start whenever.
Yeah.
And we're going to do just the two of us catching up. Probably keep it to like,
I don't know, 15 minutes or so.
I would say even less than that, honestly.
Well, what if I have a lot to say?
Let's cut it short, dude. I got time for
Nobody
that.
wants to hear that shit.
No, people want to get to Tom Leigh.
He'll be a fun guest.
Yeah, I'm excited to have him on. I'm excited to have a person on that's
Right?
not us. You know?
And somebody that's doing photography instead of video. I mean, he's like a main photography guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anybody else that just does that except Pete Bowden.
Yeah, when I asked him about doing audio at home, he said that he doesn't own a single piece of audio equipment.
Really?
Yeah, so he's
Wow.
straight video.
Wow.
I mean, straight photo.
I can't wait to ask him how you can get away with that in today's day of age. Like,
You got to be good.
oh my God. I feel like every project that comes up, it's like, we want photos, we want video, we want long form, we want short form. Like,
Yeah,
here you go. You're the creator.
I think he just established himself
For sure.
with his skill level and has been rolling with that.
I mean, he's good.
We'll find
He's
out.
damn good.
Yeah, I looked at some of his stuff on his website last
Yeah.
night, and I definitely have some questions. But
Yeah. You're going to get into the weeds. You're going to ask him some technical stuff.
No. I'm going to try to stay out of the weeds. I mean,
Yeah.
the most technical question I have is like gear related. And even then,
Right.
my knowledge only goes so deep. So
I don't even know what he uses. Well, I guess we'll find out.
yeah, I'm going to guess it's a Canon.
Really?
Actually, no, I know it's a Canon. Wait,
Oh.
I don't know.
Ooh.
It's a guess.
I guess we'll have to wait and
Yeah,
see.
we'll find out. Happy Friday.
Oh, thank God. It's been a week.
Yeah, I can't believe it's Friday. It feels like it's like Wednesday to me, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know if that means that I didn't do enough work this week or if I just live in the work now, so I just lose track of the days. But it doesn't fit. I'm so happy it's Friday, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but it just doesn't even feel like it to me.
No.
But you had a much more intense week than I did.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like Friday either. It's just like another day. I mean, this week, who knows what day of the week it was. I was gone for like one day, and it felt like a week that I was gone.
A lot of action packed into that
Yeah.
small time frame.
I mean, we've got so much content from one day. I was there for like 24 hours. One day in Texas with Next Level Marine, shooting a 32 CCX, a trifecta pontoon, and a Taiga Ultra wakeboard boat. The three of those, just lifestyle stuff all day. We did some running at night. Like it was packed. I mean, we were going from sun up till sundown and even past that.
So what's the point of all that content that you went out there and got? Because I kind of understand that you're trying to help them build the brand a little
Yeah.
bit, but there's like a specificity to it, right? There's something that you're trying to accomplish.
Very intentional with what we went and did and the boats that we had there and the people that we had there. And it only took one day with those boats.
I mean, you went down, was it Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday morning. I left here at like 5
And
in
then
the morning.
you were supposed to come back Thursday
Yeah.
evening-ish. And instead you came back Wednesday night, and you
Yep.
even said most everything you needed was done on Tuesday.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were so dialed in. They had everything ready. They were just, available to do whatever I asked them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, like you just get it all done right away.
Yeah, amazing how much you can get in an 8-hour shoot, or maybe even less than that, just with everybody there prepared with the same idea in mind, where it's like, okay, whatever you need, we're going to do. Let's just knock it out.
And I would say from 2 p.m. was when we started on Tuesday. We shot from 2 p.m. until about 10 at night with a couple hour break in there where the sun was just garbage.
Like too bright.
It was just, dead on top, straight down, just garbage lighting.
Yeah, worst time of the day.
Why don't we just wait? Like we're gonna end up. I don't need 8 hours of content. You know, I only need like 3. So we shot for I think from like 2 to 4. And then from 4 to 6 or 7, we didn't do anything. And then we went back out and did some surfing. and then ran the boats like as the sun was setting. And then once the sun was down and it was dark, we turned on all the lights and ran with the lights on, and that was pretty cool.
It's just a lot different when a group of people know that they only have you for a certain amount of time on a shoot.
Yeah, we definitely made the most of it. Every minute was useful.
Yeah, and there was some pretty cool pictures that came out of that too that I didn't expect. With the,
I'll probably get some prints out of that, to be honest.
Yeah,
like, some of those flips were
that
insane.
Dude wakeboarding was a legitimate wakeboarder.
I did not see that coming. And they're like, he was the first one to go, you know? And they're like, oh, don't expect the rest of us to do anything like that. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he set the bar.
Yeah, you're like, damn, I didn't even understand what was about to just happen. You're like, oh, just casual wakeboard, whatever. And then he just goes, phew.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, oh, I'll just like get warmed up with this guy. You know, he was the main show.
They did not save the best for last.
Nope. Actually, Blake went last, and he'll tell you if he was the best.
I'm assuming he wasn't.
I think it's been years since he's done it. But hey, better than me. I didn't go.
Back on the board.
I know.
Good for him. Went. Have you ever wake surfed before?
No, not surfed. I wakeboarded one time. Did okay. I struggled to get up, so I didn't want to embarrass myself, but don't worry. Next time, I'll embarrass myself.
There you go. Yeah, you got to.
Yeah. But anyway, how was your week?
My week was good. I did a lot of Supercat stuff. So I went through all the interviews that we did, went through some of the B-roll, and I kind of just been listing out common themes throughout the teams, the individuals, trying to figure out what the main components are going to be to the story. And then that way we can kind of storyboard with it and plug things in where we want them to go. I watched a couple episodes of some TV shows that I think are going to help, just looking for some inspiration as I was going through that. So it was a fun week. It was a creative week. It was a week of prepping, but I love it. So it's great.
Well, what do you say we have Tom come join us on this pod?
Yeah, first time for me meeting him. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him, but like it was in like Miami the first time I went, so no idea who he was.
Oh, that was like the first trip.
No context of who he was, what he does. So this is going to be very enlightening for me. But I'm excited. I'm excited to have another creative on that we can kind of talk shop with outside of just boats, but really everything: photography, videography. Hopefully, we learn some things. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's get him on.
Let's get him on.
Hey, what's up, Tommy?
What's up, guys?
Not much, man. Good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Can you see us all right? Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, you guys. Just hitting record on this thing.
Okay, perfect. I see you got a lav mic on.
Yeah, I figured we'd try to do it as good as we could.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. The in-house audio and camera will make a huge difference, so we appreciate that.
Yeah. Yep, no worries.
Okay.
So what are you heading to Cali for later?
Interesting story, actually. So I grew up riding moto, and a buddy of mine won a motorcycle from Ryan Villapoto, if you know who Ryan Villapoto is.
I do not. Who is that?
Yeah, he is a Supercross champion, like kind of a big deal, and my buddy bought bikes for his kids and all this stuff, and he hasn't been able to rebuild the bike that he has, and he's a firefighter and stuff, and he's been wanting to get a bike, but his kids are coming first, and he ended up like entering to win this thing on Instagram, and
motorcycle.
And
That's
insane. It's like a full trick race bike. It's nice. So we're me and a couple of buddies are driving out there with him and pick it up, and so it'll be a cool deal.
Nice.
So,
well, good for him. Congrats to him. That's awesome.
Yeah, it should be cool. Yeah, nothing photography or boating related. I'll bring my camera, of course, but
so is that standard for you? Do you just bring your camera everywhere like Brad does?
Yeah, for the most part. I used to be like really bad about it. I had my camera bag like literally everywhere. But I still, I try to bring my camera anywhere that it makes sense.
Do you like make an effort to leave it at home sometimes, even though you want to bring it?
Yeah, actually, when I go on the lake here in Lake Havasu, I'll leave the cameras at home, just so I can just go out and chill. So, otherwise, nice. I'll sit there on the boat and take pictures all day. So,
right. I hope, Brad. I hope you can find the strength to do that.
I'm not there yet, Tom.
He's taking pictures. He's editing. He's doing the whole thing while we're on like a bachelor party, for example.
On the boat. Yeah. I know that feeling. I'm actually going to be bringing my laptop on the ride to California so that I can edit while I'm riding along. So
Oh yeah, we definitely know how that goes. Well,
yeah,
thanks
for sure.
for hopping on today, man.
Yeah.
We're just starting to get used to getting guests on, and obviously you have a huge presence in the industry that we're in, so we're very happy to have you on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate you guys having me. I've been checking out your podcast for a while, and obviously I see Brad at a lot of the events and stuff. So it's rad to be able to get on here and chop it up with you guys.
Yeah, it's cool. I feel like I've met so many people that create in this industry in such a short period of time. I mean, you've been doing this far longer than I have, and I don't really know how you got into it or like what your background was before you started taking pictures, and you were a photographer.
Yeah.
So I was hoping we could dive into that a little bit if you're cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know how I got into this either, but
Did you have something else? Like, were you working a full-time job doing something else outside of this?
Yeah, professionally, in most of my life, I've been in sales. You know, I went to school for business, and then got into the motorcycle business down in Tucson, where I was going to school, and yeah, just kind of worked my way through the dealer environment there, and worked up into management, and was able to, cut out a decent living of that, and kind of got tired of that for a while, and a buddy of mine had a home security business, alarm business that he was needed some help with. So I went in and helped him with some of his strategy and doing some management and things for him down in Tucson, and did that for a few years, and then moved back to my hometown, which is Prescott, up here in northern Arizona. I live out in Lake Havasu now, but yeah, moved back to Prescott, got back in the motorcycle business, managed a shop up there for a while, and kind of around 2008 when the economy crashed, it was getting pretty hard to make a living selling toys. So I got back into the alarm business up in Prescott and did that. That led into meeting the founders of CrossFit, oddly enough, and ended up working for them, managing a gym that they were opening in Prescott, and did that for a while. Actually, I was working directly for Lauren Glassman, who was the co-founder. Did that for a while, and that during that time I was doing a lot of photography. I've been a hobbyist since I was in my 20s, but it was mostly going out taking pictures of my buddies that were racing dirt bikes and doing things like that, mountain bike stuff and whatever. I was just taking pictures of my friends. Around the time that I was started working at the gym, I was doing a lot of stuff at the river. I was going out to Parker quite a bit, which is, for those of you guys that aren't on the West Coast, Lake Havasu is on the Colorado River, which feeds down to Parker, Arizona, and the Parker Strip is a fun spot that a lot of people go to. So we were going to Parker a lot. Of course, would take my camera with me, and I was snapping pictures of anything that I could find. All the boating scene, and it's a lot of small boat stuff out there, jet boats and V drives and hot rods and that kind of stuff. So I was taking pictures of that, and there's a website out here called River Dave's Place. And I had been following that for a long time just to stay connected to the kind of the river scene. And so I started posting my pictures on that website. And River Dave, I don't know if you guys have met him, but River Dave is a pretty strong personality out here. And he liked what I was doing, and I reached out to him one day and I was like, hey man, if you ever want somebody to come shoot some of these events for you, I'd love to do it. And he was like, well, what are you doing this weekend? So I went out and shot some boat drags, the drag races, and did some of that stuff. And long story short, I ended up that summer, they decided to sell the gym, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I asked Dave if he wanted somebody to take pictures for the summer. I was just going to take the summer off and hang out at the river. And so he was like, yeah. So he gave me a place to stay, and I shot a bunch of pictures. And that kind of, I wasn't really making money at it at that point, but I was having a lot of fun at it. And I was hoping it was a pipe dream to be able to make some money at it. And stayed with him, spent the summer, kind of figured some things out, had my first couple paying gigs, which was fun. And then went back home, got a sales job for the winter time, came back out the next summer, did the same thing over again, kind of figured out a little bit more. And the whole time I'm kind of learning the craft too at the whole time.
Right.
The whole time I'm doing this stuff, which was the nice thing was Dave gave me free rein to make as many mistakes as I wanted. I could post up, as good or as bad of photos as I wanted to, and there was no repercussions for it. Yeah. And everybody still was polite and was stoked even when I, post up a turd. But from that I decided like I'm really going to make a run at this. And so I basically sold everything I had in Prescott and bought a van. With the intention that if I had to, I could live in that van and travel around and do photography. And I was lucky during that time. I had Dave. I met some guys that had an off-road race team, Mills Motorsports, and was able to do some work for those guys. And just through relationships, doing a lot of stuff for free for a long time, but through relationships was able to, finally get to the point where I had a little bit of stuff coming in. And slowly I was able to, between spending, living off of my savings for a while and then slowly starting to, add in some of these paid gigs, I was able to, finally meet to a point where I was able to survive on it. And I certainly wasn't living high on the hog, but I was there, I was living, and I had a little condo here in Havasu and I was able to just kind of scrape by and make it into something. And then eventually, the more people you work with, I mean, you know how it is. The more people you work with, the more relationships you build. It kind of starts to turn into something.
How long did that feeling of risk sit with you after you decided to go at it full time after that second summer? Like, were you feeling that for a year or so? Are you still feeling that?
It's been 11 years. Yeah, it's still, you never really get over that. Once you go out on your own, I think it's like any business owner, if you're only there relying on yourself, right? So, there's always that feeling of like, man, this could all go away tomorrow. Like this could happen or that could happen. And I could just be standing here with a bag full of cameras for no reason, so I don't think that ever really goes away. And I think if it does go away, you get comfortable and you stop really, really seeking out opportunities. And so I hope it never goes away. I hope I'm always like kind of in fight or flight, so.
I feel like a lot of people that look at your work and see the brands that you're working with wouldn't think that you're still feeling that, you have such a presence in the industry and you're working with, the top dogs in the industry. Yet you still have that feeling. I mean, that's pretty relatable to somebody that's just starting out, that it's okay to feel that way because it's going to be, you better just get used to it because it's going to be like that for maybe ever. Yeah.
You gotta kind of make peace with it because, and I appreciate you saying that. Like I still look at, I've some of the brands that I work with and some of the, people in the industry that I get to be around, I often am like, dude, any minute these guys are going to figure out that I'm a total fraud, right?
Imposter
and I'm going to
syndrome.
be out. Yeah, totally. I mean, any creator kind of knows what that's like, but it's funny because you go into it thinking, man, if I could get this one job, I'd be set, right? And then you get that job and you're like, oh, what about this job? Or, and so it's pretty mind blowing to look back and think, yeah, I get to work with a lot of people in the industry that are, legends of the industry, really. I mean, it's very, very humbling. And but yeah, like somebody coming up that wants to be a media guy, first of all, I'm like, good luck, but also like just stick with it. If you've got a good product and you're passionate about what you're doing and you're having fun at it, the rest of it will figure itself out. You just gotta plug away at it. So
you obviously are very prevalent in the performance boating industry, but you had mentioned meeting up with guys that had an off-road team, and I was looking at your website last night and I saw a lot of stuff with cars and ATVs and things like that. So are you still doing all of that type of photography as well?
Yes. Probably not as much as I was, even like 4 years ago. But the wintertime still offers a lot of opportunity for stuff that's not on the water. Not that, Lake Havasu is kind of a year-round boating environment, but really we don't do as much boating photography here as you would think. It's not a full-time thing here. We travel a lot, but we have a couple of road rallies that we work with that are vintage car rallies, and we got through the boating community. I actually got locked in with some of those guys, so real lucky to be able to go and chase some vintage sports cars around really, really cool locations a couple times a year. I try to get out to do the desert races as much as I can. I don't get to do it as much as I used to, but because my schedule just kind of gets kind of torn up. But we did make it down to Baja 1000 last November, so still doing a little bit of that stuff. And there's a lot of other things that you pick up. When you're, I got early on. I got really used to saying yes to literally anything. If somebody wanted to pay me to do something on my camera, like I was probably going to say yes to it, unless it was something weird, So
I don't say anything, because there's a lot of things you can do with the camera.
not quite anything, but yeah. I mean, but I'll shoot just about anything. I mean, I've done a lot of real estate photography. That's also for Stacy over at River Dave's place. But done a lot of that stuff. I've shot some resorts. Done some product photography. Done quite a bit of product photography. Done a lot of industrial photography for different businesses. I do a lot of work with a propane company.
I saw a wedding shoot on your website as well.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, don't tell anybody. No, we do shoot some weddings once in a while. Weddings are one of those things that you really have to really love weddings, really love that event to really thrive in that space. And I do enjoy it to some extent, but it doesn't drive me. But a lot of times I'll end up doing weddings for, people that I know, friends and things like that. So yeah, every once in a while you'll catch me in a suit and tie or at least a button-up shirt and pants, which is odd.
The thought of doing that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. So I actually just signed up. My cousin's a wedding photographer, and I'm going to go be a second shooter for her in September.
Yeah.
Just to try it, just to kind of push the limit a little bit. And I think it's a good opportunity to, like you said, you kind of have to love the event. So you got to put on kind of a face to make sure that the people you're taking pictures of, you're not altering their day at all. You're more enhancing the experience, and I think that can play a part in what Brad and I do too, with shooting video and interviews and things like that, just making people comfortable in front of the camera.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's event photography, right? And if you're a good wedding photographer, you can shoot any event. Wedding photography it's like the most stressful event photography you're going to do, because you got one shot. You got one shot. You've got a real captive audience, a real captive subject, and you've got to make that work on the fly while the event's happening, and you've got to make it look really good. I mean, there's a lot of wedding photographers out there, and there's a lot of really, really good wedding photographers, and these brides, man, when they're looking online at what they want for their wedding, like, the bar is high, trust me. So it's but I think, like you said, it plays in well if you take what you learn from doing that and you put it into action at a lot of the events that we do, whether it be the offshore races or some of the poker runs or even you guys' own event that you're doing out there. Like, it makes a huge difference. Just being comfortable getting what you need out of the customer or out of the subject, it really makes a big difference.
It's like getting what you need out of them, but also not making them feel like you're pulling too hard for it. Like, you want to make them feel like it's coming from them naturally, and you want it to look natural when you're doing it.
Absolutely. It's you don't want them feeling like you're on top of them, like they're working for you or something.
That was something that we were talking about a little bit before you hopped on, was just like, what is your approach to some of these projects that you work on? Are you more like, do you have a shot list in mind and you're directing people, or are you doing more candid, or is there like a time and a place for both those types of things in your work?
Well, with the boating events, I stick pretty candid. I mean, a lot of the stuff, some of the boating events we're doing stuff for Speedboat Magazine. And so oftentimes, Ray will have a group of models that we're going to shoot with the boat. So that's obviously definitely a more staged situation. Most events, I'm definitely not extroverted. I'm an introvert, so I'm better behind the camera, and I'm better doing more candid stuff. So that's kind of the stuff that I look for. I've always been really into, photojournalism, and I really like street photography and things like that. So I prefer to catch something that's an interesting event happening as it unfolds, and catch things that way, as opposed to running up to a group of people and being like, hey, let's take a picture.
Is that where your inspiration for photography started? Kind of like street photography? Did you have any influences? I mean, you started back in like 2008, so it's different back then than it is now, where I could look at a million different photographers on Instagram in 5 seconds and get some ideas and things like that. What started like your, I don't know if I'd call it an infatuation, but maybe it was your infatuation with photography?
Yeah.
What did you want to do with it at first?
I wanted to have pictures in the magazine. I grew up in a generation where magazines were media. Like there was no social media. There wasn't, really when I was a kid, there wasn't the internet, If we wanted to get news about whatever sport we were into, or whatever scene you're into, whether you're into cars or boats or motorcycles or whatever it is, like you had to wait until the next month till the magazine hit the newsstand. And I can remember being in junior high, just like I'd ride my skateboard to Barnes and Noble. Well, it wasn't Barnes and Noble, but like to the bookstore and sit there at the newsstand and like flip through magazines for a couple hours. Sometimes they'd have to kick me out of there, like, beat it, kid, but that was kind of the thing. I would look through magazines, and I just really liked the way that the pictures told stories. And so that was kind of, I would say, my earliest inspiration for picking up a camera was like, oh, it'd be cool to take pictures like that. And then, so the first time I saw one of my pictures in print, I was beside myself. I said, I have the magazine here somewhere. I think it was Speedboat Magazine.
You don't forget those first ones, right? I know my first
Absolutely
one that
not.
we actually used for Sensation, I'll never forget it. I'm like, oh, I finally nailed that one shot that I had in my head, and now it's on the website. Like,
You've told me before that you've gone back and looked at that too, and you're like, oh God,
it wasn't great,
right,
but I loved it.
It was such a monumental moment, and you're like, I would have done these 15 things different now, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, when I look at those pictures, they can be kind of cringy when you look at them, but it's your stepping stone. It's like you had to get one in there somehow, and then later on you start figuring out, through trial and error, like what really works and kind of where your style lays.
And for you with River Daves and me with Sensation, it's like you'll always be grateful for the people that took a chance on you and kind of let you do the screw ups and get to where you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of people along the way that have just given me enough room to like you said, to screw up and figure it out. Because if you didn't get that chance and it's really kind of luck of the draw to get into this business and be able to get in front of the people that are going to be clients, and get in front of them fast enough that you can, you're going to survive. It's not a given. There's a lot of really talented photographers out there that I see that, either took a swing at it and just couldn't make ends meet with it and kind of let it go, or just never really took a swing at it, but they're really good. I know some guys off the top of my head that I can think of that are better than I am, that are, not doing not holding the camera for a living, I
feel like in the creative space, that's what a lot of people say all the time. Like plenty of musicians that I listen to on podcasts, they're always like, there's people that are much better than me at this skill wise. And it's just more so if you're right place, right time, or almost like you said, with being able to tell a story with a picture, like you might be able to somehow showcase that better than somebody that might know a camera better than you. It just kind of depends on what the audience is looking for at the time, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if any of your, whether it's photography or video, if it speaks to somebody, it's probably going to speak to a lot of people, so if you can pinpoint that. And for me, I try to take pictures of things that just speak to me, and hopefully that translates to, or resonates with other people. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I think that, it's talent's not enough, right? You can't just be a really good photographer. People have to see your talent. So if you're a really good photographer, but you're not very good at marketing, or you're not very good at, you're reluctant to show people what you're doing, nobody's ever going to know what that talent looks like. So if you're out there and you're taking a bunch of pictures and you're thinking, man, this isn't, I don't want to show anybody yet because it's not good enough. Just show somebody. Like there's nobody that's doing it for a living now that's knocked it out of the park on every shoot or every picture that I've ever taken. There's just, it's impossible.
It's good advice.
Definitely. Definitely something I struggled with for sure, is like you want so badly for it to be great that you're almost afraid that it just won't be. So you never take that leap, you never take that chance. And I have Brad to thank a lot for that, because for me, getting into this, in the past year, it's all just on a whim. Brad started the company similar to how you did, put his stuff out there through relationships, started developing slowly and getting contracts. And for me, it was just like, he's like, hey, you might like this. He knew I was a creative person. You might like a camera. You might like editing a video, whatever it is. Why don't you take a shot at it? And I wouldn't have had that like motivation to try and fail. Like there's no chance in hell that I would have done what you guys did. So appreciate that. But it's just, there's different paths to it too. But it definitely goes to show that if you got to try, no matter what.
Yeah. Sometimes you're in a place where you're just like, I'm just going to try it because what do I have to lose? Mm-hmm. And other times you're drug into it, kicking and screaming. But luckily you have somebody that recognized talent in you and is like, no, you got to do this. Like you said, you come to it in different ways. Everybody comes into it in a different place, and they're doing it for different reasons. I see a lot of young guys, I'm sure it's the same, excuse me, the same for you, Brad, but a lot of young guys will reach out on social media and be like, how do I get in front of these big brands? How do I do this? How do I do this? And it's like, why are you doing it?
Are you helping them out with that, or are you
I try to.
Well, good luck?
I ran into a couple guys. I ran into both when I was figuring this stuff out. I ran into a couple guys who were kind of gatekeepers. They were like, well, yeah, you got to, figure it out, bud. And I ran into some other guys that were like, no, man, here's how you do it, and here's some advice, and like the guys that are giving advice, you're going to go a lot further just in life and just how you feel about yourself by helping somebody succeed than you are by, yeah, man, I had to fight for it, so you got to figure it out too. Like you're better off just teaching somebody how to do it. Am I going to take somebody and put them in the helicopter with me and be like, here's the settings you use and here's what no, probably not. I've been asked. I've had plenty of people ask me, but I'll help people out as much as I can. I'm not gonna like give them a blueprint to my business in my market, obviously, but
just coming on here, I mean, that's helping people out, right? That's the idea of this whole podcast, is we want to have people that create in this space on here. Tell us how you did it. You don't have to tell me what aperture you're using out of the helicopter and shutter speed, but like just kind of paint the picture. Let us know that it's possible to get to this point, and you've definitely done that. And go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, even if you did that, even if you give them the recipe, people still got to put it together for themselves. The person still has to see the picture.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about things too much that way. And I think that it always is valuable to me when I see somebody that I might have given advice to or might have helped out a little bit, like get that first job and get somewhere with their camera. Like, there's nothing cooler, honestly. This is why I do what I do. Like, there's not a cooler job to have than running around taking pictures of cool stuff and somebody paid me for it. You know,
I couldn't agree more.
It's awesome. You know, and I'm not gonna even like pretend that I'm not completely stoked every time I go out. You know,
Yeah.
like people are always like, "Oh yeah, real rough job." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, right?"
Yeah. How many times have we heard
You
that
know,
joke? Jesus.
you feel bad telling people you're tired. You know, you're just like, "Yeah, man, I'm pretty worn out." They're like, "Yeah, you're real worn out, riding on cool boats." And
No, it's definitely tiring.
It's hard for me to explain it to Madison, even my wife. Like it's just. She's supportive and she really loves that I love what I do, but when I'm like complaining about being in Marathon, Florida for 5 days, she's like, okay, well, I was working 5 shifts at the hospital getting shit on. So and I'm like, they're two different things. Trust me, it's still hard.
Right. Yeah, that I get that a lot. And I try to, you know, I hear myself saying it when I'm saying it, you know, if I'm, you know, telling somebody how rough something is, they're like, sure thing, guy. You know, but how cool is that? Like it's cool to have a job where you're like, yeah, the worst day isn't that bad, you know. And we've had some challenging times, of course. You know, you get out on a shoot and everything doesn't go right sometimes, and sometimes it's just not. You're fighting it the whole time, but at the end of the day, you're still doing something pretty cool.
Yeah, that level of gratification at the end too, when you sell something that you made to somebody because they wanted it. There's nothing like that. Right. Well, it's been a half hour, so we don't want to take up too much of your time. We really appreciate you hopping on, sharing some wisdom with us, and getting to know you. This is the first time that you and I have met, so it's been very informative for me.
To meet you.
It's really nice to meet you. Thank you again, and good luck with everything. Hopefully we can maybe do some work together soon. Yeah,
thank you guys. I appreciate you guys reaching out. It's definitely an honor to have somebody ask me to tell them anything. You know, like I said,
you care?
A few years ago, I'd have been like, "You want me to do what? Why?" So no, it's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Are you guys going to be in Cocoa Beach?
No, we're not going to be at that one. Our next race is Ocean City, so first time heading up there.
Okay. Yeah, well, looks forward to seeing you guys at one of these events, and if nothing else, I'll see you guys up in your neck of the woods for the Sensation event. So
awesome. Can't wait to have you.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, looking forward to it, guys.
All right, man. Well, take it easy. Thank you.
Right on. You guys too. Thanks.
All right, well, we're going to start by apologizing for any cuts that you might see in this pod. We burned through some batteries.
Things, you know what? I think it's going to come together okay, but
it's a little loose today.
It was a little rushed.
Yeah.
That's on us. But Tom did a great job.
Yeah. I hope that we didn't do him a disservice with our lack of attention.
I mean, we were attentive.
You were dialed. I've been all over the place today.
Well, we were attentive to Tom. Yeah. It was just this whole day has been kind of effed from the beginning.
Yeah,
so
that's my fault.
You know, shit happens. So you know, if you heard the dogs barking, if you heard the electrician banging around, Brad's sorry. He kind of scheduled a lot of things to go on all in one day. So.
Yeah. Well, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. End of the week. Finished strong.
Yep. Get it all in.
That was great, though.
That was cool. Yeah.
Tom did a really good job. I really enjoyed talking to him. It's nice to get on the phone with another person in the industry and just creative in general and picking their brain about stuff.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have him on again. But I want to keep this rolling. Let's get some other people on here that are doing similar stuff. See what we can learn from them. See what they can teach our audience. This is what this is about, like getting these people on here and sharing their stories. So I'm glad that we're actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good job, Tom. Thank you. Thank you again for calling in. That was great.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep.